Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we'll be doing three pieces by Albert Einstein in the book Ideas and Opinions. First piece we're going to read is Production and Purchasing Power from Mind Amsterdam Querido Verlag, 1934. I do not believe that the remedy for our present difficulties lies in the knowledge of productive capacity and consumption, because this knowledge is likely, in the main, to come too late. Moreover, trouble in Germany seems to me not to be hypertrophy of the machinery of production, but deficient purchasing power in a large section of the population, which has proven cast out of the productive process through the rationalization of industry. The gold standard has, in my opinion, the serious disadvantage that a shortage in the supply of gold automatically leads to a contraction of credit and also of the amount of currency in circulation, to which the contraction prices and wages cannot adjust themselves sufficiently quickly. The national remedies of our troubles are, in my opinion, as follows: a statutory reduction of working hours graduated with the Department of Industry in order to get rid of unemployment, combined with the fixing of minimum wages for the purpose of adjusting the purchasing power of the masses to the amount of goods available. 2. Control the amount of money in circulation of the volume of credit in such a way as to keep the price level steady, abolishing any monetary standard. 3. Statutory limitation of prices for such articles as have been practically withdrawn from free competition by monopolies or the formation of cartels. So essentially what Einstein is saying here, if workers aren't given the proper money in hours so they could pay in hours, they aren't going to be able to afford whatever you produce, which is something I've been saying for a long time. You have to provide your workers proper pay and proper hours so they can purchase your goods. It's just common sense. Next piece is production and work. Answer to a communication published in Mein Weltbild, Amsterdam Querido Verlag, 1934. A fundamental trouble seems to me to be the almost unlimited freedom of the labor market combined with extraordinary progress in the methods of production. To satisfy the needs of the world today, nothing like all the available labor is wanted. The result is unemployment and unhealthy competition among the workers, both of which reduce purchasing power and thereby put the whole economic system intolerably out of gear. I know liberal economists maintain that every economy in labor is counterbalanced by an increase in demand. But to begin with, I don't believe that, and even if it were true, the above mentioned factors would always operate to force the standard of living of a large portion of the human race down to an unnaturally low level. I also share your conviction that Steps absolutely must be taken to make it possible and necessary for the younger people to take part in the productive process. Further, that the older people ought to be excluded from certain sorts of work, which I call unqualified work, receiving instead a certain income as having by that time done enough work of a kind accepted by society as productive. I, too, am in favor of abolishing large cities, but not of settling people of a particular type, e.g., old people, in particular towns. Frankly, the idea strikes me as horrible. I am also of the opinion that the fluctuations in the value of money must be avoided by substituting for the gold standard a standard based on certain classes of goods selected according to the conditions of consumption. As Keynes, I am not mistaken, long ago proposed. With the introduction of this system, one might consent to a certain amount of inflation as compared with the present monetary situation. If one could believe that the state would really make a rational use of the windfall thus accruing to it. The weakness of your plain lie, so it seems to me, in the sphere of psychology, or rather in your neglect of it, it is no accident that capitalism has brought with it progress not merely in production, but also in knowledge. Egoism and competition are, alas, stronger forces than public spirit and sense of duty. In Russia, they say it is impossible to get a decent piece of bread. Perhaps I am over pessimistic concerning state and other forms of communal enterprise, but I expect little good from them. Bureaucracy is the death of any achievement. I have seen and experienced too many dreadful warnings, even in comparatively model Switzerland. I am inclined to the view that the state can only be of real use to industry as a limiting and regulative force. It must see to it that competition among workers is kept within healthy limits, and all children are given a chance to develop soundly, and that wages are high enough for the goods produced to be consumed. But it can exert a decisive influence through the regulative function if its measures are framed in an objective spirit by independent experts. Again, it, it's just saying, you know, money and labor depend on each other. Capitalism cannot just run free and run amok because there are negative things that can come of that consequence. Last piece we're going to read is called Address to the Students Disarmament Meeting. And the blurb reads, delivered before a group of German pacifist students about 1930, published in Mein Weltbild, Amsterdam Corridor Verlag, 1934. Preceding generations have presented us with a highly developed science and technology, a most valuable gift which carries with it possibilities of making our life free and beautiful to an extent such as no previous generations have enjoyed. But this gift also brings with it dangers to our existence, as great as any that has ever threatened it. The destiny of civilized humanity depends more than ever on the moral forces it is capable of generating. Hence, the task that confronts our age is certainly no easier than the tasks our immediate predecessors successfully performed. The necessary supply of food and consumer goods can be produced in far fewer hours of work than formerly. Moreover, the problem of distribution of labor in the manufactured goods has become far more difficult. We all feel that the free play of economic forces, the unregulated and unrestrained pursuit of wealth and power by the individual, no longer leads automatically to a tolerable solution of these problems. Production, labor, and distribution need to be organized on a definite plan in order to prevent the elimination of valuable productive energies and the impoverishment and demoralization of large sections of the population. If unrestricted sacred egoism leads to dire consequences in economic life, it is still worse as a guide of in international relations. The development of mechanical methods of warfare is such that human life will become intolerable if people do not discover before long a way of preventing war. The importance of this object is only equaled by the inadequacy of the attempts hitherto made to attain it. People seek to minimize the danger by limitation of armaments and restrictive rules for the conduct of war. But war is not a parlor game in which the players obediently stick to the rules. Where life and death are at stake, rules and obligations go by the board. Only the absolute repudiation of all war can be of any use here. The creation of an international court of arbitration is not enough. There must be treaties guaranteeing that the decisions of this court shall be made effective by all the nations acting in concert. Without such a guarantee, the nations will never have the courage to disarm seriously. Suppose, for example, that the American, English, German, and French governments insisted that the Japanese government put an immediate stop to their warlike operations in China under pain of complete economic boycott. Do you suppose that any Japanese government would be found ready to take the responsibility of plunging the country into the perilous adventure of defying this order? Then why is it not done? Why must every individual and every nation tremble for their existence? Because each seeks his own wretched momentary advantage and refuses to subordinate it to the welfare and prosperity of the community. That is why I began by telling you that the fate of the human race is far more dependent on its moral strength today. To the way to a joyful and happy existence is everywhere through renunciation and self-limitation. There can Where can the strength for such a process come from? Only from those who have had the chance in their early years to fortify their minds and broaden their outlook through study. Thus, the older generations look to you and hope that you will strive with all your might to achieve what was denied to us. So, Einstein in here is essentially saying the advancement of technology and knowledge is leading to many great things, but there's also problems and troubles that it presents as well. And we can no longer accept war. We have to act together as a unified world. Something to this day we've not even managed to do. And then he also mentions how it affects the economy. But you have to remember at the time here that these were written, the Great Depression was going on worldwide. So, but as always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tries to tell you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, later.